Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 7-Minute Takeover with Village Wealth. I'm Liz McCrae.
I'm Aiden Gamble, and in these videos, we're going to talk about the topics of the day in Main Street acquisitions, tips and tricks to complete your takeover.
We just got off our open office hours, which we do every Friday with our members. We just get together 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we just chat about whatever's on folks' minds. And one of the topics that came up today was about the volume of deal flow right now. So it's early 2025. We're sitting in January right now when we're recording this. And there seems to be a lull in activity and everybody seems to be feeling it. So, Eamon, what have you recognized, or what were some of your points that we chatted about?
Yeah, it was a really good discussion. And, I think nobody wants a slow January. You just had to sit through the Christmas season where seemingly nothing was really happening. And then you get told there's nothing coming right onto the market as soon as the new year kicks off. So, I think one of the things that the members were pointing out was a lot of the uncertainty that's out there in the market for Canadian small business owners right now. So, we're leading into the Trump inauguration next week, and threats of 25% tariff may leave sellers feeling like they may not get the best terms for their company with that specter hanging over their head, especially if they're selling a lot into the US. On the home front, the CRA is advising people that recognized a capital gain in 2024 that they will have to pay the enhanced or higher inclusion rate, even though that hasn't been passed into law yet. And if the law doesn't get passed, that they'll be refunded the difference at a future date. So, a lot of small business owners don't like the idea of needing to kind of pay extra to the CRA and hope for a refund down the road. And so, or maybe holding off just to see if there's a little bit more certainty that's provided on either of those two topics in the next couple of months.
Yeah, so lots of considerations that business owners are facing right now when thinking about when to sell their business. The other point to make is, the seasonality of deal flow and when it hits the market. There does tend to be some seasonality to it. And if you think like many business owners, their year end is December 31st. So, and often when they go to market, they want to have their most recent financials prepared. And so if you think about throughout the year on that filing schedule, they're wrapping up their year ends. That takes time. That can take 4 to 6 weeks to get it back from the accountants. And then they provide everything to the broker, the M&A firm, that now takes time to put together the package. So it might be that we might see more deal flow come up in February, March. And we do see this throughout the year too. There does tend to be a spike, sort of end of winter, early spring. And then again in the fall, because people aren't rushing to go to market during the summer. They're still, having fun in the sun, and then Christmas is pretty quiet anyway. So then those tend to be the two biggest spikes in the year is kind of, mid to late winter and fall. So, a couple points on the seasonality of things. So if you're feeling a sense of quiet deal flow, you're not alone. It seems to be across the board that we're hearing right now.
And I think there were some kind of interesting ideas for ways to make sure that you're not missing any opportunities, even if the overall deal flow is light. I think there was a suggestion related to Chamber of Commerce and getting in front of small business owners. But Liz, you had a really interesting idea about how to leverage those networks.
Yeah. So if you know any exit planners or trying to network with wealth managers, they often see businesses coming before they go to market. They're doing their succession planning, their tax planning with their wealth managers. Exit planners often do the work before a business is prepared to sell. They'll be in a few years in advance. And so oftentimes, they'll do events with the Chamber of Commerce, or they'll host information sessions and with a room full of business owners. So if you can find any of those information sessions, we see a lot of people kind of getting scrappy and being creative with how they're finding their deal flow. One experience I've had in the inverse was I was participating in an in-person how to buy a business course with another association, and it was a room full of buyers. And we had a gentleman that drove, over 3 hours to come to this session. And he was a business owner looking to sell, and he had brought all of his financials with him, and stood up and introduced himself in a room full of buyers and said, I'm ready to sell. I'm for sale if anybody wants to chat. So, doing the inverse is an option too. Find those business succession exit planning events and show up as a buyer and introduce yourself, and you'll be fresh meat to everybody there.
That's a great tip, and I think there was a number of other topics that we got into that probably will form the basis of our next 7-minute podcast. But there was talk about how to ensure there's common and preferred share structures that work for investors, what levers you can pull to make that attractive, how to make sure you're top of mind for brokers out in the market, doing 2 smaller acquisitions at the same time instead of looking for one bigger business. So today's was a really fun session, and I think we can learn a lot from the community that we've got here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun on Fridays. So next week we're in the middle of our buy business course right now, and next week we dive deeper into all the different strategies for finding more deal flow and off-market deal flow. So that's gonna be a fun session. But that's a wrap for today, Eamon. That's our 7 minutes, and stay tuned. This is our first one. We're going to be back on a more regular frequency. So stay tuned and see you later.
Happy Friday. See you later, Liz.